good intentions, found that there were none. Blame my father for the wasted years. We hardly talked, never thought I could forget this hate. Then a phone call made me realize I'm wrong.
Hey everyone, Kelly Dean Allen here with you again. So then, today we're going to have a little crying alone in your room music. But first, for about a 20-year span between 1996 and 2016, only 2 Canadian bands sold more albums in Canada than Toronto band Our Lady Peace. Those bands being Nickelback and the Tragically Hip. Lofty company indeed. Now, 4 a.m., the track that we'll be looking at today, stems from their 1997 album Clumsy, their second, which went diamond here in Canada in sales and platinum in the States. So many of you non-Canadians out there should maybe know this one, as it was one of the bigger hits from that album. And if you don't, I implore you to check it out, as it's just a lovely song. A bit sad, like I said, but still quite lovely. That said, let's have a look at how it's played, shall we? All right then, Raine, Maida, Our Lady Peace, and 4 a.m. We are tuned down 1/2 step to E flat for this tutorial. And we're going to keep it there because I'm going to try to sing along a little bit here and there, and hopefully I don't offend your ears because I'm not a very good singer. At the beginning of this track, we're using 2 chords. We're using C sharp minor with the open high E string, right? It's still C sharp minor because there's your E note on the 5 of the high E, and then your open high E, right? C sharp minor, and A add 9, which is an A major chord with the open B, open high E, and there's your add 9, right? C sharp minor, A add 9. And we're going back and forth twice, actually 5 times, 3 more times once the vocals come in, but we're going to change it up a little bit once the vocals come in. So we're going to grab this C sharp minor, hit it 3 times on the downstroke, kind of like that. The 3rd time you're getting all top 5 strings, right? Kind of like that. And then before changing chords, you're going to do a little down, up, down. Kind of like that. And then you're going to move it into the A add 9, do the same thing. Right? The first 2 times, just the bottom 3 or 4 strings, and then all 6 strings. And the first 2 times we play through this, we're going to add a little arpeggiation to finish up this A add 9. You're going to grab the D string and then B, G, D, right? Right, and then repeat. Right, and that's the intro, and then the vocals come in, and then you're going to repeat that 3 more times, but we're going to drop that little arpeggiation out of the equation once the vocals come in. Just let it ring. And then a little down, up, down before moving it back to C sharp minor, right? Vocals.
Walked around my good intentions, found that there were none. Blame my father for the wasted years. We hardly talked, never thought I could forget this hate. Then a phone call made me realize I'm wrong.
Right? So that is the tail end of the verse. So after you repeat that C sharp minor to A add 9 5 times, the final 3 times dropping that arpeggiation out of the equation, then we're going to go off to F sharp 11. So it's the exact same chord shape. It's an F sharp major chord shape, but with the open B, open high E. And then back to A add 9. Right, and that leads into the chorus. So that's the verse, just C sharp minor into A add 9 3 times. sharp 11, back to A add 9, into the chorus.
Make it known that I love you all along, just like sunny days that we ignore because we're all dumb and jaded. And I hope to God I figure out what's wrong.
And that drops into another verse. So the chorus, we're going to go off to E major, to A sus2, to B sus. So the E major, easy enough. Everyone should know E major. A sus2 is an A chord just on the twos of the D and the G with the open B, open high E. And then when we move it into B sus, it's the same thing. It's a B chord here, right? But with the open B, open high E. A sus, B sus. Or A sus2, I should say. A sus2, B sus. 3 times. A sus2, B sus, and to finish the chorus, we're going to take that exact same chord shape, that B sus, and we're going to move it up to D, we're going to back it off to C sharp, and then back it off to B sus again. All the while the open B, open high E. Right, and that drops right into the next verse. Back into C sharp minor. Into A add 9, right? So let's just recap that chorus. E major, A sus2, B sus. 3 times. Now, I don't know what that D is called when you have the open top 2 strings, or that C sharp, you know, when you have the open top 2 strings. But I know that's B sus, right? It's some kind of D sus chord and some kind of C sharp sus chord. And like I said, that just drops right back into another verse. 3 times of that. Right, and then after you repeat that 3 times, off to F sharp 11, back to A add 9, into another chorus. Same as the other chorus, right? And coming out of the second chorus, when we get off to this B, coming out of the D to C sharp to B, distorted guitars kick in, right? We're just writing basically a 3-finger B power chord. And then we're into the bridge, and the bridge is all octaves. Over top of the octaves, we have a little melody line, a little solo, basically repeating the same thing over and over again. So coming out of this B, this big build up into the bridge, right? We're going to go off to E, an E power chord, hit it twice. Ba-ba-dum. So we're grabbing octaves here on the 7 of the A, 9 of the G, so E, basically. We're going to slide that back to D. We're going to hit it a couple of times, slide it back to C sharp, slide it back to D, slide it back to C sharp, and then finally off to A, an A power chord that you're going to hit like 5 or 6 times. Kind of like that, right? And after after you hit that A like 5 or 6 times, ba, na, 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 ba, you're going to go off to E twice, right? And then we're going to play more octaves, but different this time. Finish it the same way with like 5 or 6 A's off to 2 E power chords. So the second playthrough is going to be D into E and then off to B at on the 2 and 4, right? And then you're going to take that B, move it into D, back off to C sharp, and then off to A, right? And then you repeat the whole thing again. And then we're into the pre-chorus or the outro. The outro of the chorus with that D off to C sharp, off to B sus, the open top 2 strings. Twice, I believe. And I hope to God I figure out what's wrong. And that drops into the outro chorus, which just doubles up, right? And so the little lead line going on over top of that is this. So we're basically repeating the same thing 4 times with a little variation the 3rd and 4th time. So we're starting here on 7 of the B, off to 5, back to 7, and then you're going to take that 7, slide it into 9. And then you're just going to hang on that 9 and do little half-step bends, right, like twice. And then after the second little half-step bend, you're going to go back off to 7, back onto 9, back to 7, slide it back to 5, right? And then after you go off to that 5, you're going to pick it 2 or 3 times, and then you're going to grab the 7 of the high E, and then go back to that 5 and pick it a whole bunch of times. Kind of like that, and then repeat. And then you're going to repeat it 2 more times, but we're going to finish it differently the 3rd and 4th time. You're going to go back and forth like 3 or 4 times between that 7 of the high E and that 5 of the B, and repeat that again, right? Kind of like that. So that's the little melody line that he's playing over the bridge. Right, and then we're into the chorus outro again with the distorted guitars. Twice. And then chorus with the distorted guitars, E major. A sus2, B sus. Repeat 3 times. Into D with the top 2 strings open, C sharp, back to B, and then repeat the chorus.
Make it Know that I love you all along, just like sunny days that we ignore because we're all dumb and jaded. And I hope to God I figure out what's wrong. And if I don't...
Right, and that just continues until the end. And there you go. That is how you play 4 a.m. and Our Lady Peace. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there, and we will see you next time. Cheers.